Simplifying fractions is to have a picture. It looks like this. If you have 1/2, this is equal to 1/2. Half of it is shaded. 1/2 is the same thing as 2/4. So 2/4 is equal to 1/2. If I simplify 2/4, it means I break it down to something that's smaller. Since 2 and 4 both have 2 in common, I can divide the top by 2 and the bottom by 2 to get 1/2. That's why 2/4 is 1/2. So to find equivalent fractions, what you need to do is you need to see what you can do to reduce 4/12. So what's a number that 4 and 12 that goes into both 4 and 12? Well, 2. So you can divide the top by 2 and the bottom by 2. So if you divide the top by 2, you get 2. And if you divide the bottom by 2, you get 6. So 2/6 is the same thing as 4/12. Notice how if you have 2/6, you can also break that down. So if you divide the top by 2, you get 1. And if you divide the bottom by 2, you get 3. So all of these are equal. 4/12 is the same thing as 2/6, which is the same thing as 1/3. So these are all equivalent fractions. The simplest form is this one because you can't divide that or reduce that down anymore. And then B. Let's try this one. So is there a number that 5 and 15 both go into? Yep, it's 5. So you divide the top by 5 and the bottom by 5. So you get 1/3. So 1/3. I can't divide 1/3 out anymore. So another fraction that is like 1/3. So if this is 1/3 up here at the top, another fraction would be cutting it into 6. So 2/6 is the same thing because what I did is I multiplied the top and the bottom by 2. So all three of these, 5/15, 1/3, and 2/6, are all equivalent fractions. The one that's in simplest form is 1/3. Now let's try 10/12. So 10/12, I can divide the top by 2 and the bottom by 2. So I can get 5/6. Well, I can't break down 5/6 anymore. So I can think of 10/12 and I can multiply that by 2 and 2 to get 20 out of 24. As long as you're multiplying or dividing the top and the bottom by the exact same number, you're going to get equivalent fractions. And then D, I can divide both of these by 2 to get 7/10, or I could multiply it by 2 to get 24/40. Either way, they are equivalent. Simplest form means that you can't break down any further. Can't divide any further. So I'm going to go up here and highlight the ones that are in simplest form up here. 1/3's in simplest form because you can't divide 1 and 3 anymore. There's no numbers that go into 1 and 3. Same thing with 1/3 right here. There are no other numbers that go into 1 and 3. 5/6. There's not another number that goes into 5 and 6, so it's reduced. 7/10. There's not another number that divides into 7 and 10. And then here, you write each in simplest form. You ask your friends about their favorite sandwich place, and you find 8 out of 12. So 8 out of 12 is written like this. So then what we do is we need to reduce 8/12. We need to think of a factor of 8 and 12. So I always try dividing by 2 first. So if I divide this by 2, I get 4. If I divide 12 by 2, I get 6. Now try again. Can you reduce 4/6? Yes, you can. It's 2/3. So your answer is 2/3. You can't divide 2 and 3 anymore because there's not a number that 2 and 3 both go into. And then B. In one world history class, 28 out of 35 are boys. So you need to think of a number that 28 and 35 that goes into both 28 and 35. So 2 doesn't, because 2 doesn't go into 35. 3, no. 4, no. 5, no. 6, no. 7. 7, I can divide the top by 7 and the bottom by 7. So I get 4/5. That's reduced. And then on the bottom, sometimes you have variables. So if you have variables, what you do is you take the front fraction, which is 2/6, and reduce 2/6. Well, you can divide 2 by 2 and get 1. You can divide 6 by 2 and get 3. Now your variables are, you have m on the top and m on the bottom. So the m's cancel out. So now you just have an n. So the answer is 1 times n over 3 or n over 3. So if you have the exact same thing on the top and the bottom and you're multiplying, they cancel out. So on here, I make my fraction bar. I have a y on the top and a y on the bottom. It's exact same power. So I have an x left on the bottom, and there's nothing at the top, so I have to write a 1. When there's nothing at the top, you have to write a 1. C, you look at 3/12. Well, how does 3/12 reduce? Well, you can divide 3 by 3 and get 1. You can divide 12 by 3 and get 4. Then I have the exact same a's on the top and the bottom, so the a's cancel out. But you have b squared on the top and b on the bottom. So b squared is b times b, so we can cancel out the b's, so you're going to have 1b on the top. So the answer is b over 4. And then D, make your fraction bar. You can divide 24 divided by 8. So you're going to get a 3. Then you have x squared on the top and x on the bottom. So you cancel out the x's to get 1 on the top. And then the y's are exactly the same, so they cancel out. So the answer is just 3x.